In this demonstration, I will focus myself on Docker, on Docker-compose, and the Docker files. That's really the idea. I will not go into the detail of the different containers I created, but I want to show you the way I used to create the container, and I will take the TensorFlow container as example. Okay. To create my containers, I did it into Windows. In fact, I'm on Windows. On my Windows, I have downloaded the software Docker Desktop. Okay, perfect. Once you have Docker Desktop on your desktop, I would say, you have a possibility to create images and register them to the Docker registry. Basically, the information of a folder analytics here, I want to push everything into an image. In order to do that, I created a Dockerfile. Okay, my Dockerfile can be opened via Notepad++. Basically, when you create a Dockerfile, the best practice is to use an existing image as a basis. And here, I found on internet, on the Docker registry, an interesting image containing already Python, containing OpenCV and TensorFlow. And this image works on Synology. Well, for the story, TensorFlow normally uses the GPU, and because on the Synology you don't have any GPU, it has to use the CPU. That's why this image is specific. So, on top of this image, I install cron. Remember from the previous demonstration where I used cron tab. So I made some update, I install cron. Then I ask, okay, take everything you have on the root repository and push it into a folder called API. Use API as the default working directory. Then make an update of pip and install some requirements. I will show you after. Basically, I wanted to add a couple of other packages. Then I specify, because I install cron tab and I want to execute my script every 15 minutes, I specified what I want to put in my cron job. And I change a little bit the security and ask to execute cron tab when the container is started. That's basically my Dockerfile. Perfect. So in the requirements, you have a possibility to specify which package, which Python package you want to install. So I install the list here because they did not exist on the previous image. So here I have all my code that I want to push into the image. I will come back on this later on, but the code here allows you to read the image of the gas meter and the water meter. That's the idea. The build and push here contains two instructions. Docker build allows you to create an image called BeGees Analytics on the basis of everything available on the root. And Docker image push allows you to store this image on my Docker registry. Okay, let's have a look. Just have to click here, and you will see that the image here will be constructed, and it will be pushed to the Docker registry. It's very fast because the image already exists, and I didn't change anything. Okay, cool. Now, I would like to use this image into my Synology NAS. So here, I'm using again mobile extern. I made a connection to my Synology, and I can see the list of the different folders. So cd, okay, docker. Okay, on my Docker, in fact, I have a code, I have a file called docker-compose. Let me show you this file. So volume 1 Docker is a shared drive, I would say. That's the volume I'm specifying in my docker-compose. And this volume is interesting because it allows you to share the information between the container and your server in order to keep the data across the several run of your container. Okay, that's this file. That's my docker-compose file, and here it contains all my volumes. I open it. So that's my docker-compose file. Basically, here I specify all the images I want to gather, to start automatically, and I specify also the way they have to communicate. Basically, they will all communicate to the same network, called in that case local, and you specify the port of the different container. The volumes here are specified like this. Here also, and here also. Okay, restart always is an instruction, meaning that the container will always restart. You can also put some dependents and so on. Okay. So that's basically my docker-compose file. Let me run that file. I'm in my Synology again. First, I have to pull my analytic image. I just have registered on my Docker registry. So what I can do, docker-compose, I can ask pull analytics. Analytics is the name of my image. That's the name of my image that I have written in my docker-compose file. That's this thing. So like this, I don't have to specify the full name. Okay, password. Okay, so here I'm extracting the image from the registry. Okay, already pulled. It was very fast also because there was no other changes. If I now want to launch all my containers, I can introduce the simple command docker-compose up -d. They are all running, so okay, it was also very fast. Super. Now I would like to have a look to my container. I would like to enter into the container. To do that, you must know the ID of the container. What I can do, sudo docker container ls. This is the list of all my containers with their ID. First one is the container I'm interested in. Okay, and I can ask now docker exec -it. I specify the container ID, and I specify how I want to communicate. Let's use this one. So here I'm inside the container, and basically here that's my container, and my API folder I created before, containing codes, debug, pictures, and so on, is stored in the container. Remember, here there was here what website, analytics. All the folders here are now in my container. So that's very practical. So now if I want to execute something, I can execute it in the same way as under Linux. Okay?